Hasn't anyone seen it?
No, is anyone on the line?
Nope.
Okay, well then I can say this for the benefit of the two people who are in the room. We're still in Canvas. I'm not calling a meeting to order because we've been in order since Tuesday at 7 o'clock when the polls closed.
Yeah.
We've just basically recessed the Canvas as we are gone for the week. Can see that we're trying to put the finishing touches on the provisional count. So we have not going to sign abstracts tonight. Because if we said we were going to try to do that, Gretchen might have a panic attack right here. The provisionals have been run through the scanner. We are trying to reconcile our numbers to make sure that they're correct. There's probably a record keeping error in the logs.
Yeah, we have a double entry.
We have to find something because we're one ballot off. But we're going to find our one ballot. We're at least going to put a little more effort into finding the one ballot before we throw up our hands and say we're not entirely sure what happened.
It's possible that somebody did not, these envelopes felt empty.
Yeah, it's possible we didn't notice that we opened an envelope with different ballot, but because what we're going on is we have counted that we have accepted a certain number of provisional ballots. I think 1902, is that where we came up with so? But when we ran ballots through the scanner, we came up with 1901. So there's one ballot that we don't know what happened to. Either it never was, or there's a possibility that we have misrecorded how many envelopes we opened. We in fact only opened 1901, so we need to go back and we've confirmed about half of the precincts in terms of those numbers. But what we do know is that none of this is changing outcomes. We can tell everyone at this meeting, unless somebody's going to stop me from saying these things, that Mo Bryant won the school board race. We do not need to go to rounds on the county board. Takis did in fact get reelected. I will say that the numbers that get reported on election night are not necessarily the determinant of whether we go to rounds. So if our friends at Arl Now watch the video later, it would be helpful if they didn't report on the results of county board races quite as soon as they did. Because at that stage, you never know, because the numbers for your purposes and anybody who watches the recording, for the purposes of determining whether we go to rounds in a ranked choice voting election, when you look at the website, the state website for reporting, it filters out any over and under votes. It doesn't count them. And so it's giving you a percentage of votes cast for people. Problem is when we decide whether we go to rounds, we have to count the under and over votes, because somebody who overvoted in the first choice may have valid second and third choices that come up. The same is true of undervotes. There's the potential that an undervote comes back into the count in a second round. So the denominator for determining the 50% plus one vote is not the total number you're seeing on the website, because it filters out those things. Because of course, under and over votes don't matter to the vote for one races because they're effectively no votes.
Right, and also we have to account for ballots that come in by mail, so we have the mail deadline. We
Yeah,
also have to wait for the state to send the registration.
Right, we had a
Then we
bunch
gotta
of
count
provisionals.
those too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had a suspicion that those weren't gonna, because we knew the numbers and it was probably not gonna come down to 50%, but
It was close.
I mean, Arl Now said something that I wouldn't have said at the stage at which they said it, which was, I think, the day after election day. They were saying Takis was reelected, got 60% of the vote. I wouldn't have said that early, but that's it. Or certainly I would have called the office first. Yeah, that's if we thought that was premature. So we're going to do some auditing. First, can we do just a minor bit of business, which is I'm going to to approve the minutes from the October 15th meeting.
I seconded.
Are there any objections to the approval of the minutes? Then that motion passes unanimously. Now you get to watch some of the magic. Just as a note before we do that, we'll be signing our abstracts. The state board meets on Tuesday, at which point, Tuesday, right? Not Monday, Tuesday. At which point they'll do the random selection of a House of Delegates district to audit. If the audit happens, it would be set for the 20th or just that. So a week from tomorrow. Which is the 20th. But that's only if they audit the first, second, or third districts would we be involved. Otherwise, it would be somewhere else in the state. We'll let everyone know if we are elected, but you can also tune in to the riveting State Board of Elections.
Yes.
Sorry, I shouldn't have been sarcastic about that. It is live, but it's also being recorded. That's why I said I couldn't have been sarcastic about it. I have great respect for our colleagues.
Right now.
What?
Sorry.
Yeah, baby. Think right.
No.
Nobody's listening.
I shouldn't mean, I shouldn't take that to mean nobody will ever listen. I have great respect for our colleagues at the state.
Ready?
So let's do some auditing. Who's got the box?
121, start here.
Okay.
I have 22 and 1.
Good. Got 21 and 1.
Okay. Control.
Need to unseal and recap?
No, let's
Let's
look for a duplicate.
Wouldn't it be great if it was right here? First?
Let me make sure that I'm not looking at. No, I had EV. Hold on.
No. Disappointed.
I'm sorry. Okay, 21 and 1.
Yep, good there. 122,
24 and 1.
correct. 123,
23 and 0.
yep, 124,
40 and 0.
yep, 125,
21 and 0.
yep, 126,
28 and 4.
yep, 127,
33 and 1.
nope, I just didn't see it.
Okay, 30 to 127.
127,
Yeah. Hmm. Um,
open.
Yeah. Seal.
And last, this is one of the ones that you said.
Yeah, that's all.
You're gonna need to sign more.
Okay, I found the duplicate. We have Asia, we have somebody in here twice. I'm gonna delete. Maybe. It asked too much. That's our problem though, once we delete this one.
Microsoft has been Microsoft today.
Hopefully that's it.
It really does not like our spreadsheet.
I apologize for sitting with my back to you both.
Killed it.
Good to see the private.
Turn this up this way.
So I would say that's, we found the data entry error. Had somebody on there twice.
And now, we have, we should go through the rest of this spreadsheet.
You do, I believe in you. What? For
I'm
some,
sorry, I'm just laughing because at this point, I don't know what to do. Been a long week.
it has, right.
Yes, I suppose at this point, no longer 8 days.
Come on. Don't know why. There's all kinds of data in this.
That's not much of a say.
So at this point, I'm comfortable trying to get the report off.
Okay,
So either we can go ask the people sitting in the room to try to do it, or we go do it and somebody can swap to it.
I can read off of your chart if unfortunately it stops the hanky. Allow you to.
I'm restarting your file.
We wait for the file to back up. Would either of you like to make public comment? Frank, John? I think technically it's a public meeting and we're supposed to have public comment.
This is the canvas of regular monthly.
But the canvas is a public meeting, which
Yes.
is why we come in and out of the closed session to do the original stuff. Otherwise, summary wise, we'll have, in December, we'll have our meeting, we'll finalize the strategic plan. I think we got a couple of comments back. Folks.
It's frozen again.
Curse you, Val. You're making us look bad on video. Who knows? The post-election report will be completed for the January meeting. We'll send you a copy, Rich. For those that don't understand why I was making that statement, Rich's term expires at the end of the year, and with the results of the election, the Democratic Party gets to choose the nominees for that seat. So Rich will leave us. We will have a new member come January 1st. So January will also be our reorganization meeting.
When did the elect come back with the duplicate report?
5:15 less.
Oh, by
We had hoped to do a lot of this
Yeah.
yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah.
We had hoped to do all of this yesterday. That's the point.
Because we were making really good progress
Really
yesterday.
well. And then the state's like,
Won't have the report ready for you yet.
They gave us that 10 days to certify the election, get our abstracts to them. They keep eating up more and more of our time by,
I don't think I think they ran into some significant technical. Okay,
one of these days we'll have new Ferris. Maybe some of these problems will be solved.
moved it to a new spreadsheet because I'm tired of doing the spreadsheet.
Ones with Excel and spreadsheet get too big, have too many
It's
workbooks.
the problem.
Worksheets, it becomes
Yeah, the problem is that one has all this, like, it only goes to row 2000, but it has all, it's like trying to filter every row,
Yeah.
like all 10 billion rows. So insert my new pivot table with learned how to.
I have a whole book about pivot tables. Could lend you if you really. Might be for an old version of Excel though. Not sure how much they've changed.
Well, the provisionals, is that considered all separate? Precinct, but it's like all of those. It's not the cap. Right?
Yeah, no, it's a separate group of reporting. This is the first, yeah, it wasn't for June, they just passed this. So it came into effect in July where we will report provisionals by precinct.
Okay.
Your
So,
concerns with that have already been expressed to the legislature and they seem not
So-
interested in it.
yeah, it's ready for somebody to review.
I'm gonna excuse Gretchen to go play with the,
I'm not playing.
I'm gonna generate reports from the machine. And I'm gonna,
You're gonna read off.
Do you want to read and I can?
yeah, so if you wanna, I think
Wait, before we do that, let's make sure our grand total.
now comes out to what it's supposed to. Yeah. What we were expecting it to be. 1901. It's the number of votes. So, what do we have to? That one?
This is the seven.
Okay, so that could be 32. wait, hold on. 27, yes, 32 and 1.
That's correct.
128, 38 and 4.
Correct.
129, 16 and 0.
Correct.
130, 33 and 1.
Yes.
131, 13 and 2.
Yes.
132, 9 and 0.
Yes.
133, 14 and
Yes.
134, 12 and 2.
Yes.
135, 16 and 1.
Yes.
136, 27 and 0.
Yes.
137, 13 and 0.
Yes.
138, 33 and 0.
Yes.
139, 16 and 0.
Yes.
140, 55 and 1.
55 and 1.
141, 34 and 1.
Yes.
142, 22 and 0.
Yes.
143, 40 and 2. 144, 38 and 0.
Yes.
145.
Stand for that.
Is that now you again? I'm waiting. While we wait for that, I will just note that the numbers I'm giving are the number we accepted, the number we rejected. We have to record that on the envelope. Better than give it up front. 145, 35 and 1.
Yeah.
146, 72 and 1.
Yeah.
147, 13 and 0.
Yes,
148, 34 and 0.
yes.
149, 30 and 0.
32.
Not what I have.
You may have 30.
Says 30. Oh, wait, why do we have two 149? Well, I'm not gonna figure that out at the moment because one of the 149 says 30 and 0 and the other says 2 and 0. The total is 32. and 0.
All right, I'll put it aside.
Put it aside. I assume there's
That's
something weird about precincts that's creating two separate lines on the pivot table. 150, 68 and 0.
68.
151, 8 and 2.
Yep,
152, 38 and 3.
yes,
153, 62 and 0.
Yep.
154, 34 and 1.
yes.
All right. That's like meters, okay. I will note for everyone that the majority of the rejections for provisional ballots fall into two categories. One, they were same-day registrations where the registration could not be accepted. Usually for missing information, somebody didn't fill out their social security number, didn't sign the form, didn't check off the felon box, things like that. So once we can't process the registration, accept the ballot because they're not registered. The second is, there's always a handful, at least a handful of people who vote in the wrong precinct. Some know they're voting in the wrong precinct. They run in at 6:45, but they're like, I just want to vote. I'm never gonna make it to my precinct. I'm just, as we tell all of our election officers, let them have a provisional ballot. You could even tell them that there's almost certainly not gonna count because we can't count things that are not cast to a precinct, but people generally feel better if they've been able to do something. So there's that. We had a handful this election. We did in last November as well. People who came in, for anybody that votes by mail, you'll know that we have a tracking system. So when that ballot comes back, it has a barcode. We scan it in so that it's noted that we've received it back. People who mail their ballots or put them in the drop boxes late in the period, where we get them either Saturday the 1st or Monday the 3rd, or election day itself. Either we haven't been able to mark them, or we mark them after they, that's somebody from security or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Or we created the poll book files before we check them all in, so they just show on the poll book to the people as issued. So there were people who came in on election day and told the officers, I mailed in my ballot, but it's not showing as having been received. We have told the election officers, you should give them a provisional ballot. You should mark on the envelope that they acknowledge that they sent in their mail ballot, but they're concerned that we didn't get it. And so they're casting a prophylactic provisional in case the ballot's been lost in transit.
Those are people who would have come in because they know they put it in late. And they just suspected that maybe it didn't get accepted, so they want to make sure.
Well, they're not sure we got, because we'll mark, it still says not received on the tracking system. So it says we haven't gotten it yet. And they're worried that we haven't gotten it. But in some cases, we have gotten it before election day. It's just not
It's so
reflected,
close to election day.
right? It's not reflected in the system.
And they can actually monitor that if they're savvy enough.
They might, sometimes it just gets back at that last Monday into election day. So it may still, in fact, show as not received. For all I know, they checked Monday afternoon and they were like, oh no, my ballot hasn't got there. I better go to my polling place on Tuesday. And they didn't look again Tuesday morning. And it doesn't bother me so much if they come in and say, hey, I did send my mail ballot back, but I don't think you got it. And for whatever reason, it's fine. I'm not gonna punish them for being worried. So there were about, 5 or 6 people who were in that situation where their ballot did come in and we know that it came in either the 1st, 3rd.
Or it came in by the noon Friday deadline.
Yeah, and so we did not count their provisional. The mail ballot that they sent is the one that counts.
Just why we wait for that Friday noon deadline before we can.
We did not have any duplicates on the duplicate report, so we waited until Friday, Wednesday at 5:15 for nothing that
All except
concerned us. Every now and then we do have people that show up on the report, but it's usually because we corrected something, we misentered them and then went back in and corrected their information. And so the system picks that up as a duplicate, but it's a duplicate within Arlington. So it's not somebody that's gone off to some other place. We did have the usual couple of people who forgot they sent back their ballot. That one ballot came back September 30th. I think we received mail ballot. Person came in and said, sent back my ballot.
How that one's referred.
Was that one we referred, or was that one that the person was?
I think that person was of a particular age.
Yeah, there's a
Like-
point at which we don't get to people who try to do that a little bit too close to election day, go across the street. Recently call them and see what's going on. I think we had about maybe 3 or 4 people that will go across the street for one or another reason. I don't think any of them were really trying to vote twice.
No.
They're just doing,
There were other issues.
yes.
Yeah.
We had one who denied that she was a felon, but in fact, she was.
And has done so more than once.
Several times, has done that now. So we denied that.
So that one went.
From time to time, you will get people who admit, like, yes, I'm a felon, and then they'll write, I have no idea if my rights have been restored.
Yeah.
But and we can find that out, and when we find out that their rights haven't been restored, we deny the application, but in those cases, I think we're a little bit less. We're not necessarily gonna send them across the street. They admitted they were a felon. They just were like, I think maybe my rights were restored. I don't know.
Because there's a process that you could go through to get your rights restored and they may not be aware of that.
Yeah, and the rejection, when you get rejected, when your registration gets rejected, you do get notice. Like, we rejected your registration because you said you were a felon, or you came up as a felon and your rights haven't been restored, or you didn't provide a social security number, whatever the reason is, so that they can resubmit with the information. It's something they can do. When you get rejected because of a felony issue, it does come with information about, here's how you would get your rights restored if you were interested in availing yourself of that route. This person did not, as far as we know. Still coming up as a felon, so that's what that goes across the street.
It becomes an investigation. It's out of our purview.
Yeah.
We have to send that on to someone.
I mean, this is me riffing, and one should probably not do that too much, but I'll do it. I'm not speaking on behalf of my colleagues. A lot of the election violations require intent, and really hard to prove that in a lot of these cases, which is why I suspect not a lot of them get brought, to, go to trial or anything, but they get investigated. I suspect a lot of them wind up with, I don't know how I'm going to prove that this person intended to do this, with bad intent, rather than they just forgot that they, with the length of early voting and the point at which mail ballots go out, you do get a lot of people who send their ballot back really quickly, then forget that they've done it. Or by the time election day rolls around, they think, no, that couldn't have been this election so long ago.
Yeah. This must be a different.
The older I get, the more I feel like September felt like a long time ago at this point. This election has been going on forever, and they've pretty much been having an election since June,
Yeah.
because they almost went directly from June to, they had a special in September.
Yeah. And
And
now they're
then-
they have another special happening in December.
They have a special currently going on.
Yeah.
They're in early voting for the
And
special.
each cycle has its own set of days. So, yeah.
Now, as they will tell you, the special that's coming up, where election day itself, I think, is December 9th or something like that, is only for one. For anybody that's familiar with Fairfax, they're broken up into magisterial districts. There's only one magisterial district. As they put it, only about 20 precincts. They have 254, so to them, 20 is only.
That's not-
We'll be interested to see what happens here. I suppose anytime a Democratic administration is coming in, Northern Virginia elected officials are prime targets for administration jobs, so there's always the possibility that we'll have specials coming up in the late winter or early spring as some of our delegates or senators get plucked to go work in Richmond. Hopefully.
Dominic, if someone votes. That, then in that with. State.
No, they don't get voting credit. They voted in the wrong precinct. I'd have to,
Virginia is still a state that requires you to vote at your precinct on election day. So, and that includes casting a provisional ballot. So you have to be at your precinct to cast that.
so those people, if we reject the ballot, they don't get credit. You may have one. I'm sorry, we're all. I'm actually more playing with the bag than I'm putting away.
We've been talking all day, reading stuff all day. Yes.
So no, they don't get credit, so no, I would not say them.
I don't
If they don't, for the reason of not voting.
Does anybody know maybe for
I'd have to confirm that with Gretchen, she'd probably know the answer. for it.
question for Gretchen staff? Undeliverable mail ballots. The idea is if time permits, that the office use them and then puts those voters into an active status.
They have actually been pretty good. My understanding is they've, as I think I told you, Frank, at the last meeting in October, I did spend, because I work from home and I need to get out of my apartment, I spent more than my fair share of time in the office during early voting, just to get, and work from here instead of from home. They got a lot in. My suspicion is to the extent things came in that last 3 or 4 days, they may not have been entered. There's still some time, but we are at the stage where, along with the abstracts, everything has to get boxed up and start getting parted across to the clerk.
Undeliverable, yeah, because they're ballots.
Yeah, to the extent then other things come in later, there's more time, but to the extent we have them.
See like what.
The interesting thing is undeliverables don't always come back quickly. Sometimes they do. Gretchen has shown me an undeliverable that came back. That was it came back maybe in September. It was a November 2024 ballot that had just made its way back. They're clearly not a priority for the post office. I don't blame them. They're not getting extra postage for bringing it back to us.
So they should be, well, marked as inactive, but also taken off the permanent absentee ballot list. Which
Yes, the minute they go into inactive status, they do come off.
would be a good thing, it seems, to, if it was possible to process.
Yes, it's also a question of whether they come back. I will say, this is the reality of things. I live in an apartment building. I have lived in apartment buildings. I know that plenty of people, when they get stuff for old residents of their apartment, do not send it back to sender. They put it in the garbage. If you're lucky, so they just throw it out because it's not theirs. Sometimes they don't even look at what it is, whether it should, I tend to look at things. I get stuff from old residents of the apartment. I've gotten things from the Virginia Department of Revenue, the Illinois Department of Revenue, like various things where I'm like, oh, that looks like it would be important. At the very least, I should return to sender. So at least they know this person doesn't live here anymore. And they should probably go about trying to find them some other way. But some people don't. So their ballot may come in and they may just, or they take it, who the hell knows these days? I'm not young, but I get a lot of stuff, the important stuff, by electronic delivery. So I sometimes don't check my mail for a week. Then I go and empty the box and it's
Be better than.
as mainly junk mail. And so I just take the pile of it, I put on a counter. And eventually I go through it, you know, and sometimes I'm like, oh, sometimes it's stuff for me and I'm like, oh, probably would have been good to have opened this 2 weeks ago, but.
I'm set up with the USPS alerts, so I know what's coming in the mail. And so I have a tendency, because I receive most of my bills electronically.
Oh.
It'll a month. I'll check my
Yeah.
mailbox.
I'm not expecting anything important to come.
What's coming,
Every specific.
Yeah.
what's coming in a scanned image of what's coming.
My goodness.
Yeah. And if you're getting a package, it lets you know that the package is on the way too.
I believe, do you have to pay for that?
It's pretty
No,
So I should do that. Way I'll know when my magazines are coming. So yes, it would be helpful, I think, if we had a little more, if perhaps like the undeliverable ballots were peeled away from the rest of the deadline and we were given a few extra, you know, if we were given an extra week to,
just to make sure those.
right, and to process them and send them over to the clerk, you know, a week later, but.
but the barcode should make making a list very easy.
Hire one person to do it.
Yeah, the question is always the time and resources and where we need to make sure that the ballots that need to be counted get in first, so.
Right.
I know that Gretchen is trying, not sure if she's gotten the approvals yet from the county, but for anybody that knew Ben, we used to do
Yeah.
mail ballots.
Oh, yeah.
We're trying to fill his position because he went to Fairfax,
Yes.
where they were able to give him a full-time job because we have a lot more mail ballots. But we have not hired for that yet, so we have our usual group of seasonal workers. The same ones that are here usually every election. But there's still a limited number of hours in the day. Like I said, it'd be very nice if we had more time or those things were exempted from being in like sort of pile of stuff for this election kind of thing, and we could send them over.
Yeah.
Separately.
Just a time extension. It means you can put them aside and then. Just on. the-
Something we can bring to the legislative.
Yes.
Can. Yeah, it's been a fun election season. Now, hopefully we'll have some time off. And nobody will be calling specials. For at least a bit.
I was gonna say, we at least know that there's one coming up.
But my understanding is that they have to wait 90 days from passage for a constitutional amendment special, so
Yep.
at least that puts us into like April,
Yep.
not the 45 days, but that'll be fun.
Primaries in June.
Depending on, look, how much would you like us to speculate from this table? I don't like to do that, but there is there's a realm of possibility where there are 6 or 7 elections next year. Because we have specials that come up. There's a special for the constitutional amendment concept to change the redistricting process. If that passes, we have the June primary for state for a bunch of stuff. And then they push the congressional primaries into August while they're fixing, you know, rejiggering the maps.
It's a potential scenario.
Yeah, like I said.
Yeah.
Not saying there will be 7 elections, it could be 2, I mean, problem. But you know, if people, even if one person gets, you know, let's say Delegate Hope goes and works in the administration, somebody from the board decides to run for his seat, then we need to have a special to fill the election for the board.
And
It's a cascade effect.
Right, you worry that which is what Fairfax has experienced, like one vacancy. You know, the winner of that special creates another vacancy that needs a special, that creates another vacancy that needs a special.
Okay. Is your, the rest of the audience not okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so we had a question about.
Yep.
49,
Oh, yeah.
because there's entered.
The only question is the pivot table created two lines,
Oh, yeah.
two 149s. They added up.
Leaving
correct?
one as a text and one as a
No.
number.
Oh, that's fine. They added up to the right number, so.
Yes, so that is, I did it, I got the report. Woo, yay. Right, so we have provisional now ready to,
Would you like to read through provisional so that we can input them into the system?
yes,
Is this the full total? Is it just like 700?
the summary.
It's
So
the
the
summary.
top is the summary, the back is the by precinct.
Which in this election, I mean, it's still be terribly dangerous. That was revealing how people vote.
It's less of a concern, we're large enough. And I'm not logged, logging into the system takes 18 hours.
How many factor authentication do we have now?
Okay, summary entry. So the total number of provisional ballots accepted is 1901.
Correct.
Okay. I cannot enter anything into summary
Why would that be?
because it wants me to enter them
Oh,
all
sorry.
by prefix, which is gonna take infinitely longer. That was nice of the Department of Elections.
But remember, you are being recorded.
Oh.
So should we,
I need my keyboard with the number. No, it takes like an hour to enter in by precinct.
okay, so you can't do the summary? Would you like us to read it? Just
Yeah, you can read the summary for, but it just takes, it's gonna take an hour to enter it in. Suppose I can enter it in on one precinct and then we'll have the double results for the rest.
tell them, it's
And
all in
Do a
precinct one.
spite, do a spite entry that I'll go through and clean up immediately. I'm sorry, it is that stage of the election.
That is a little bit weird because wouldn't it be logical to put in the summary so that when you put in all the precinct results, it could then
Yeah.
tell us. Like,
Correct. That's not how it works for the four other ones I have to report by, the three other ones I have to report by precinct. So that is, like I said, a fun one to have found out right at this moment in time.
so you're just entering them all as precinct
Yeah.
one.
Pretty much.
Should I read them all to you? Okay. Governor. Spanberger, 1,594. Earl Sears, 289, write-in 7, undervote 11, overvote 0. Lieutenant Governor, Hashmi, 1516. Reed, 352, write-ins 2, undervote 28, overvote 3.
Just bear with me on those. In between each office, I have to enter in the total votes cast. I have to flip under number. Jones.
Would you like me to read them first? Attorney General Jones, 1446, Miaris, 397. In 9, overvote 0, undervote 49.
Under vote 49.
House of Delegates,
So for these, we have to add the total votes. We have to add in the 13. Can you add?
so total votes 617.
Yep.
Vote 486.
Oh, I have Lopez first.
Oh. That's the third.
Oh, yeah, no, okay, yeah.
Okay, well then
That's
change
because we're
that.
doing one precinct at a time.
That's right, so 6, or change to 6, 7
Yep, two.
to
Use a calculator. Yeah.
426. You don't need to. You just need to get it. Let my brain.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay, Lopez.
Lopez 362, write-in 12. Overvote 0, undervote 52.
Okay, county board. First ranking.
County board first, okay.
Yes.
Do I need to do a number again? Or just-
Karen, no, that one, 1901.
Karen Thomas, 985. Cambridge, 198. Clement, 224.
For you.
Olmac, 76.
6.
Patel, 96.
6.
Write-in 22.
22.
Overvote 22.
22.
Undervote 278.
278. Okay, school board,
Webb, 271.
271.
Reeves, 242.
242.
Bryant, 1085. 1085.
Yep.
Write-in 26.
26.
Overvote 2.
Yep.
Undervote 275.
275. Oh, election night initial entry.
It's a big red box.
Mhm.
What does it look like?
I didn't put in the ballots cast at the top of the page.
This keeps sticking. This time
Okay.
it said it.
Is it happier than
Yes, it is happier. Okay. Fortunately, those house delegate increases. Anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, for the rest of, for the rest of the gallery, for the first district. Hope 486, Moyer, sorry, 117, write-in 1, overvote 0, 13s. For the second district, the Clore 700, Sigley 133, write-in 3, overvote 0, undervote 22. Guess that's not that surprising.
So does
was a
look
lot.
like a record of votes cast for in Arlington with over 100,000.
You mean in a gubernatorial year?
I have to check the history, but we did cross.
You don't know off the top of
We
your
did
head,
cross
Gretchen?
100,000, so.
Greatly distressed.
Oh. It was more than 4 years ago. Anyway.
What was our total turnout? Be able to tell?
Once again, that's one of those numbers I have not cross-checked with everything yet, so I will not say total turnout. So I have not audited it. What?
Right. I was wondering if it told us
We'll
how.
get, well, like I said, I can see the total, I can see over 100,000 ballots were cast.
I know we'll get all the breakouts and they post them.
Sorry. It is a total. Turnout might be 1 or 2 off from that. We know we're off in certain places because of void ballots and stuff like that.
How many were there in the presidential?
It's like 131. So far short of the presidential, but
The first day?
yeah. For us to get 6 digits in a non-presidential is not common.
Where were we on election day? When we reported?
Election day turnout was 53,095. Early voting was 32,221, give or take. Mailed absentee, election night was 10,144. So post-election, we did accept another 2,800 ballots after the election.
Did we say
And
like
then
50?
another-
Yeah, we like estimate. That was before.
I apologize, so we're not going to be.
So we were
I
somewhere
put
in
that
year
on the
55.
Delay that we experienced just. Okay.
That's at about, what, 170,000 active voters.
Okay, I'm closing up. Is there anything else that we need?
I do
to
not believe we have anything else we have to do.
We adjourn? Or recess and sometime.
We don't have any more.
We just need a sign, so, but it's gonna, like I said, it takes me an hour to enter in the precinct level results, just with all the numbers. I spent all of Monday doing it for the other 3 boxes, and that took me till, I did it from 9 to 2. That's about how long it took me to do the 3 early voting mail-in.
Do we wanna, adjourn?
Part of-
That's just data entry.
We can adjourn.
I was gonna ask if, we wanted to. Here's my sign.
We can either bring them out to you guys to sign, or we'll have somebody.
I can come by.
I can come by anytime, just send me an email.
Yes, we can all make our way here. Who was telling you, Alyssa, were you the one that was telling me that prior boards never did this? Never signed at a actual meeting? Or was it you?
We don't,
Maybe it was Donna.
we don't televise it, because like I said, there's always delays, there's always. Yeah, it's just really hard to nail down when we're actually gonna have all the paperwork finished.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's just a lot of hurry up and wait at this. You guys have seen,
Oh, no.
yeah, we moved as fast as we could today, and we did a great job.
So we're adjourning,
Yes,
it's, 6:50.
6:50. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Gretchen.
Thank you.
Bishop, Tanya, and the board. Really a heroic effort again.
I'll second, and that's a motion, Dominic.
It is. Any objection?
None.
And we're adjourned.
All right.
Then there ends our canvas meeting that we started on
On
Tuesday night at
on
7 PM.
November 4th.